So speaking of gangsters, who is the most well-known gangster that you can think of from the 20s and 30s?
Um, Definitely Al Capone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously the
I
biggest
think
from
he's the most famous gangster ever.
super famous, convicted of tax fraud. But I would argue that most people today don't know that he was shipped to the Atlanta Penn to serve an 11-year sentence after he was
Yeah, I didn't know
convicted.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's this story that's been lurking around Atlanta for years that despite being sent to Atlanta to spend time behind bars, Capone was able to come and go as he pleased while here in Atlanta. The rumors have included having a suite at the Briarcliff Summit to renting out the top floor of the notorious Claremont Hotel. And anyone that knows Atlanta,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Claremont Lounge is in the back as one of the seedy, notorious strip club places.
People that are in Atlanta right now that are listening or in this area are going, oh yeah, that place. But if you're not from Atlanta, the Claremont is like where it's such a fun place. I don't want to give it a bad name, but it's kind of like where if you're a stripper and there's nowhere else that'll hire you, you can always get a job at the Claremont. At
Yeah,
the Claremont.
yeah.
I will say this though, they redid the whole hotel, and the rooftop bar there has probably one of the best views of Atlanta. I was there the other night.
Yeah,
The
you were.
rooftop,
That's right. It's
yeah,
it's right up
it's
from Pont City
beautiful.
Market if you've come to
That's
Atlanta
right.
and you know where that is. It's right off the Beltline. And that strip of Ponce de Leon Avenue was super seedy. Claremont was actually pretty much abandoned for a number of years
Yeah,
and a bunch of, I mean, it looked terrible if you look at the photos online.
it was horrible. It was kind of half condemned, but such a fun place though. I don't want to give that place a bad name because it is like if you're hanging out with friends, guys or girls, whatever, it's just like it's a
Rooftop bar, there's a restaurant
yeah. But
downstairs.
I mean the Claremont, like the
Yeah,
strip club. It's such a fun like weird
yeah.
vibe that's
It's kind
everybody's
of a
really
must.
into.
You have to
Yeah.
go and it's not,
Well, I know
it's
where
not.
we're going for
Yeah,
lunch.
that's right. The buffet is fantastic. Other stories include that Capone had dug tunnels from the Claremont Hotel to the Highland Inn, Highland Avenue. So this is fascinating to me again because it's in the neighborhood, and I run every morning 4.2 miles in an oval loop right in the heart of Midtown. And I run by these places every single day. So I see the Highland Inn. It's been renamed. I think it's like the Owl Inn. And to think that Al Capone would be running around the neighborhood at the time and dug these tunnel is it's fascinating to me.
I just pictured Al Capone in his little like running shorts with the sweat
Right.
headband. Like he's just doing his morning jog. He's not running around that way. He was like in a suit with a Tommy gun under his
Yeah.
going, I got to be back at prison in 12 hours, like,
Well, it's time to bust the myth of this story. When the Claremont Hotel went up for sale in 2013, a bunch of websites and, of course, reporters behind the articles once again brought up the story of Al Capone and him being at the Claremont Hotel and being out and about. And so, unfortunately, the story was entirely made up by a man named Matt Monroe, who had confidently spread the lies working as a bartender at some of the local establishments. It was, as it always has been, an urban legend. So he wanted to see how far he could have the story travel. And it worked. The Bitter Southerner, a classic publication about life here in the South, they also jumped in. That maybe you heard it from a friend of a friend, that Capone drank in nearby bars and that he was still running the mob from prison. And I actually found myself believing it when I first heard it, especially because it was so close to my home. And so part of the fun of the story is almost that it does seem plausible while feeling unbelievable at the same time.
so he was in prison here, but he wasn't like free to come and go.
No,
I mean, that would be the only part of the story where I was like, there's a part of me that could kind of believe
I know,
some
right?
of that
I
though,
know.
just in that time and being who he was.
So the
Um,
thing that doesn't smell right to me is
the
the
Claremont.
yeah, the Claremont. But the distance from the Claremont to the Highland Inn it's about a half mile, let's say.
It's a long
You're not
tunnel.
digging tunnels.
Yeah.
The Freedom Parkway runs right through that right now. There's just no way possible. So that was the thing that said,
Yeah.
yeah, I
They
think
would have
that's
found
like
a
that's
tunnel
such a
by then.
cool detail and
Yeah.
that specific, but there's just no way. So that busts the myth.